And hello, all of you wonderful car lovers out there, and welcome to the C&C Auto Show. And I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And we actually broadcast right here from a real automotive repair facility. And we work with cars every day. And even just before this show, we were all sitting there talking about the week, the cars that we had, and the things that are coming up in the weeks to come.
The horror stories.
Yeah, the horror stories, but a lot of really good stories, too, to where you're able to help people. And that's the reason I like the automotive industry. You're able to see a lot of the good things that you do. People have a car that's got a problem, you take care of it, and they ride off happy.
Very satisfying.
And we are here to give you some smoking information that will make your, that's not a good term for a car show, some smoking information that will make your car, truck, or SUV safer, to make it more dependable, and to make it last longer for less money and less hassle. And we want to say thank you to all of you that tuned in or logged in. And we want to give a big thank you to those listeners at WLDS 1180 AM in Springfield, Illinois, and those listening in on WSLW AM in Bluefield, West Virginia. We appreciate you jumping on board and riding with us on the C&C Auto Show. And we are here to take your phone calls, and that's Saturday mornings, 8:05 Eastern Time. The number to call, 706-863-5800. You can also send us an email, watch the show live, and lots of other things there at ccautoshow.com. The show is brought to you in part by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems and NGK Spark Plugs. Again, that number, 706-863-5800. And we will be answering wonderful automotive questions, but also during the show today, we'll be talking about how the heat can affect your car.
Okay.
So, of course, our main thing, we love those questions, but also we'll be giving those tips. And where are we going?
Well, let's go over to Thomas.
Hey, Thomas, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
I've got a question. 2008 Saturn Vue throttle body problem.
Mm-hmm.
Had it repaired at a garage that I'd used before and had good service with, and continued to have a problem. I took it into a General Motors dealer, and they said on that particular vehicle, you can't use an aftermarket or a rebuilt throttle body part. You have to use a GM, part. And also there were two other items. One was connectors and some kind of a valve that they said had to be changed when you changed that throttle body.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't changed by the small garage. So I guess I'm in between. I've already had it fixed in one place, but it's not working correctly. Is the GM dealer right on that?
The throttle body does have an updated connector for sure. It's a different one. It actually has different terminals in it that are supposed to, of course, actually grab a little bit tighter. That throttle body was used on quite a few different GM vehicles, and it was kind of a notorious failure item. So they did kind of redo the throttle body and the connector to go hand in hand. Now the valve, by any chance were they saying the throttle valve? Like a lot of people call that the same thing as a throttle body.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's
it's like another $50-some for that.
Right. So yeah, it is a very common problem. What exactly is the vehicle doing though? Does it like a trouble code set, and then it has like half power?
Well, the trouble code's still on, but when you're driving, it may only go 20, 25 miles per hour for a while.
Right. Yeah, and it kind of puts in like what we call a limp mode,
a semi-tennis shoe mode.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's what's happening. It's going into limp mode.
Okay, yeah, it is like I said. One thing that would be real good to check too is there's a ground circuit for that throttle body. Even on some of the GM trucks that had that same similar throttle body, the ground would have high resistance and cause some funny different characteristics of drivability concerns. Because of course, if it sees high resistance on the ground, it sets similar codes. Throttle body circuit not learned, and all that kind of stuff, and it does the same thing. So definitely, whichever shop you choose to fix it, of course, mention to them to definitely check the ground circuit for it.
Yeah, and I agree. I've run into the connectors and I've run into the grounds, but I hadn't really run into the aftermarket throttle body. I guess it is possible.
Yeah.
But as long as that throttle body's been around, and as many has been sold, I feel like if the aftermarket had an issue with them, they probably would have had that worked out by now.
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily have to buy the OE one. I mean, you could
Yeah.
get a Delco or anything like that. Yeah.
And what I was thinking is since you know the connectors have to be done anyway, do the connector part of it
first,
since you know it has to be done. And then if it still has a problem and you feel like it may be the other part, either get another one for it or get the factory GM, because I'm sure that you would probably be able to get a return on that part if you needed to.
And Thomas, one of the other things that's very important to do is make sure the technician downloads and checks to see what software is in the computer. They a long time ago, now keep in mind 08's really not that old, of course, but there's a lot of software development since 08. Some of them even addressing throttle body concerns. So I would definitely make sure that the correct software or the current software is in that vehicle.
Well, I've got another question. I've got a grandson who went to the NASCAR mechanic school. He's certified in Volkswagen and Ford. And one of the things that he mentioned, that you really need to take your cars for repairs to a garage that's big enough that they have all the latest technology, similar to what you would find at a dealer, and that's not likely to happen at a small little neighborhood garage.
Yeah,
Is that a fairly safe assumption?
Yeah, it's definitely a correct assumption when you're talking about a lot of drivability problems, but your normal everyday jobs, brakes, struts, anything tire related, and even tune-ups and stuff like that, still your average garage can do. But you are right. If it's a drivability problem or anything to do with software, it's best to have the original, scan tool.
Yeah, Thomas, there's a lot of really, really good small shops out there that do a great job, good, honest, dependable. The main thing is if they would tell you if for some reason they don't have the equipment to do something that needs to be done on a particular car.
Yeah.
And, of course, if it's somebody that you can trust and you feel good about, they would tell you that and let you go somewhere that did have that equipment for that particular job. But yeah, I wouldn't say that you always have to go to a great big shop to get good service, because there's so many. I know so many around the country that are just smaller shops that just do absolutely fantastic job.
Yeah, and I've had good success with this shop and referred several friends. But this is just an unusual situation that came up. It sounds like, to be safe on something like a throttle body code, go to the dealer or go to C&C Automotive.
Well, or someone with some of the factory type equipment that, and usually if someone says, yes, I can reprogram that system, high probability they're going to have the equipment to do it. But if you buy a part like that and you can't reprogram it after you put it on, you're not going to get the full benefit of the part, or the part may not even work at all in some cases.
It's like putting a new printer on your older computer. You have to download the drivers that make it operate properly and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. You've been very helpful.
Thomas, we thank you very much for calling. And John Ryan, in just a few minutes, we're going to be heading over
we got about a minute left here.
Yeah, to Ronnie, and then we'll be going to Joseph, and then we'll be going to some other ones. But before we do, I thought that it might be real good. We got one quick minute, and we will, if it's okay, we will do the tech tip quiz really quick. Okay. Now, Cindy had always dreamed of living in Dallas. Let me see. Okay. She left her childhood love with a note and moved from her hometown in Waco, Texas. A year later, she received flowers with a note that said, "This is Austin, and I still love you." She packed a bag, put the flowers and a note in her '05 Jeep Wrangler, and took off. The short trip ended up costing her over $7,000. Why? And if you know the answer, give us a call, and and we will be right back after these messages.
She's real fine, my 409. She's real fine, my 409, my 409.
And we are back with you with the C&C Auto Show, and we are ready to take those calls, 706-863-5800, 805-10. You can just lay that question on us. That's what we love to do. And if you have a spring or summer trip planned, don't forget to have those belts and hoses checked out. They're number one on a list of preventative preventive preventable breakdowns. And if you need belts or hoses, I recommend the best. That's Napa hoses and belts. I just did that to make sure everyone know that when I read that, it was reading live. It wasn't.
You broke the ice for me to mess up a few words.
Yeah, you did. Absolutely.
You're standing on your tongue.
Okay, this one is the most important tip of this show, and I would say every show that we've done. The most important that we've ever done. Do be very, very careful. Do not leave kids or anyone in a car on a hot day that is not running.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't leave them in there, period. And pets, anything living, don't leave it in there. Be careful. Set reminders. Do what you have to do. But be careful with that, because when those windows go up, it's like a hothouse in there. The temperature rises very quickly, not just in minutes, and it can start going up in seconds. So be careful. Right. And where are we going?
Next up would be Ronnie.
Fantastic. Hey, Ronnie, our producer, and actually they were discussing it. Do you know what a frozen desert is?
A frozen desert?
Yes.
I'm going to say back in the ancient times, that when the land had a water on it and the asteroid come down and froze up the land.
Now, I don't know if that part is completely true or not, but I tell you, John Ryan somehow knew this, and our producer knew it, said it was a tundra is a frozen desert.
I did not know that.
And you have a tundra.
So
I do have a tundra.
And what's it doing?
What I'm calling for is to see
it's frozen.
If y'all have the preventive maintenance for the transmission fluid. Y'all have the machine that sucks out the fluid.
Yes, we do. That's a really neat exchange. How that works is, of course, there is a piece of equipment, just like you mentioned, that, of course, takes the transmission fluid and the fluid lines, and it kind of interrupts them. It becomes a part of the transmission, and as the transmission itself, under its own power, using its own pump, it pumps the fluid out the cooler lines, and it goes into the machine, and, of course, pushes on a cylinder, and on top of the cylinder is new fluid, so it forces the new fluid back in the transmission line. And you're right. I mean, it does definitely, of course, flush out 100% of the fluid, and it's the best service.
Total fluid exchange. You're getting it all out of the torque converter, out of the body of the transmission, out of the cooler. Everything all the fluid is replaced, and that's what makes it such a fantastic service. And of course, some people say, well, why does transmission fluid need to be serviced? Well, you're right. If transmission stayed very, very cool, like 150, 160 degrees, it could go many, many years. You're still going to have metal particles in there, because anytime you got fast-moving parts, you're going to get some wear, and wear is going to produce some particles. But as a general rule, it would still lubricate. But what kills transmission fluid is heat.
Big time.
And as it gets hotter, when it moves, transmission fluid with 150,000 miles could easily go, it goes up to 150 degrees, could easily go 200,000 miles without changing.
Oh, yeah.
When you increase the heat just to about 175, 180, that drops that down to 100,000, and then 190, 200, which is what an average car runs. Then you're going to drop it on down to about 60 or 70,000 miles. And it goes down from there.
What's that?
I'm way overdue then.
Ronnie, you hadn't waited too late, and you got a transmission problem. You're asking if we can flush it, did you?
Yes, that is correct. I do not have a transmission problem yet.
Right.
But I do notice a little bit of maybe slippage.
Okay.
And so I'm just, and all of a sudden the maintenance light came on. I'm going, well, that's probably what it's telling me that I need to get the transmission. Because my southern redneck lifted the hood and looked for about 30 minutes for the dipstick for the transmission fluid.
A lot of people do that, Ronnie.
You're probably still looking for it.
Yes, and of course, so then you have to Google it, and then Google tells you that it's a fully self-contained transmission.
That's
and
right.
That's the other thing about transmission fluid. If there's no leaks, the level will not go down. Transmission fluid cannot be used like engine oil because of the combustion going on in engine oil. Transmission fluid will not go down. So that's the theory behind no dipstick. No leakage, no loss of fluid, and if you got a leak, it needs to be checked anyway. So that's why they do that. But I was thinking, Ronnie, that if you would have only driven that on a Tundra, your fluid would still be great no matter what.
Cool.
Okay.
I got one more question for y'all.
Okay.
I am using radiator fluid, and it is not in the dipstick. It's not anywhere on the ground. So do I have a small intake leak, or I wonder what?
Ronnie, the only thing is, now that you mentioned the transmission and the coolant leak, I hope they're not mixing. Those trucks have a transmission cooler inside the radiator. Does the coolant look okay? Does it look nice and clean? Looks like regular antifreeze?
Yes.
It does? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hope for that then.
Yeah. What happens with coolant is some coolant leaks will only leak when it gets under pressure. Well, the system only gets under pressure when it gets hot.
Yeah.
So if it's leaking in a place like an intake or near the top of the radiator, as it finally starts to leak, it will be hot and evaporate before you actually see it. So what I'd recommend is having the system pressurized while it's cold.
When I remind you, this truck's going to hit you. Remember the water pump? How those get that huge crust on it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that's where we see those probably 9 times out of 10. Ronnie, the water pump just begins to leak, and that coolant, because it does leak, just like Aaron said, right on the block. It gets so hot, and you rarely see it leak out until it becomes obviously to where it's pouring. But the block is so hot, it almost forms. It kind of
crusty look.
Yeah, I can't think of a better word for it, but that we've taken timing covers off, and it's literally full of that. Yeah. So that may be where it's coming from. But just like Aaron said, a pressure test would at least get
with
a
it cold. You
yeah.
may have to leave it at a shop overnight, so they can leave it on the pressure overnight to actually see where it's coming from.
But I must have two choices then. Either I need to get it fixed, or I need to trade it in for a new one.
Oh, those are great trucks. They last a long, long time. I think you would save a huge amount of money getting it fixed. Of course, I'm a little biased.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I truly like, because I'm 6'4" and my 18-year-old is 6'6".
Well, Aaron's got a Miata, for God's sake.
Those Tundras all have awesome room in them.
They do. They sure do.
You can't beat the power of that engine either.
Absolutely.
All right, Ronnie. Hope that helped.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the call, Ronnie. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
Slow down, Jaguar. Keep cool, Thunderbird fool. 10-mile stretch on the Indiana road when a Sky Blue Jaguar and a Thunderbird fool.
And welcome back to the C&C Auto Show. Phone number to call, 706-863-5800. That's 8:05 to 10 Eastern, any Saturday morning, anywhere that you may be. And we made a big decision during the break. We decided that we have had Billy and Joseph have been holding, and so we want to go to the phones, and then we will do the tailgate talk.
All right, fair enough. Let's go to Joseph.
Let's do it. Hello, Joseph, and welcome to the show. We appreciate the call.
Good morning. I got a starting problem for a 09 Focus. Well, it started back in last August, and the first time it done it, I checked the headlights and they come on bright. So just over a period of time, I was just waiting around and it started. So I got home and I loosened the terminals and sprayed them because I didn't have a memory saver at the time. And it started up, and that continued on, and then if it didn't start, I could loosen the terminals and twist them and then tighten them. And it would start first turn of the key. Well, I went ahead and had a starter put on it. That was June 28th, and 19 days later I got another no start condition. Loosened the terminals, tightened them. Well, it didn't start. Well, about 5 minutes later, it started. And it finally didn't do it at the house. So this time, I just took off the positive terminal off the battery, and the headlights flashed on, and then that might have been off about a few seconds, maybe not even 5 seconds. Put it back on, tighten it, and it started the first turn of the key.
Joseph, is that where you're at with it now?
Yeah.
Have you ever had it scanned as far as trouble codes and all the modules?
No, not up to this point.
The only reason I say that, of course, there's several different electrical things that it could be. It could be a voltage drop. It could be a bad connection somewhere, bad ground. But another thing to consider.
Yeah, see, one video I seen on that Ford Tech Maculico,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lead coming off of the main negative cable, and it attaches to a bracket that's by the driver's side shock in the front.
Right.
And the guy said, on that car,
Get the paint off of it?
the 3 dashes come over the mileage on the odometer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mine never had that, but he sanded the paint off of that bracket where the lug goes on and buffed the lug up good.
Yeah.
Well, I done that, and then there's one coming off the positive,
Mm-hmm.
and that's real clean, and all of the battery post is clean.
Well, I was going
and
in a little bit
and the
different.
leads.
I was going in a little bit different direction, being like you said. Of course, it can be electrical, but what about security? Do you ever notice a theft light? Do you ever notice anything like that? Because you mentioned all the dash lights come on, correct?
Yeah, they come on normally, but the theft light never comes on by itself. Only when the car's off and it starts flashing.
Right.
For that period of time,
Mm-hmm. And
when you
when
park the car and then it flashes a little bit after
after
it's shut off.
When you attempt to spin the vehicle over, does the theft light blink or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Well, I still don't want to rule that out because I've seen quite a few Fords with security problems that, the theft light
That's what I'm
come
leaning
on.
towards, too,
Yeah, I would have that vehicle scanned. Now, it will take a specific scanner that can actually access the security data on that vehicle.
Right.
The typical over-the-counter, what we call quick scans won't necessarily pull from the area of the computer that it needs to be. Because it'll tell you history codes. If it happened, 10 key cycles ago, it will tell you, security key not valid, starter inhibit. So I would definitely have that scanned because you might. And the other thing I would worry about is try to limit the times that the battery is disconnected and connected, because every time that's happening, it's sending voltage spikes to the PCM, and really, long term, that can cause more problems.
Can we
than
tell them
anything.
what the computer does when
going
that
back-
happens?
I think it's only fair if you tell them.
All right, here's what happens when the computer sees that voltage spike, Joseph. It goes, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. And if it does that, it's kind of bad.
Going back,
Like that.
that was, about maybe 2012.
Mm-hmm.
I had to take the interior lights out because of the door ajar switch,
Right?
Well, the chime finally quit, and then that hardly ever comes on anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the neighbor told me I had to do the same thing with the Ranger pickup he had, pulling the interior light bulbs.
Right.
But see, I disconnected the battery then. I didn't have a memory saver.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got one now. When I cleaned up the battery terminals and all, I put the memory saver on there.
Yeah.
But when the starter was on, being put on, it might have been off for a while, but it's been a real intermittent problem,
Joseph, I believe if you were going to be doing more of the stuff on it yourself, it would give a lot more information if you just had a basic voltmeter.
Yeah.
And if you were able to, while it won't start, touch the post with a voltmeter with the lights on and the key turned on, and
see
see
what
if you
battery
still got
voltage
like
you have.
12.4, 12.6 volts right around in there. And then if you don't, then you still may have a battery type issue, maybe even a post messed up inside the battery.
I still lean towards
Yeah,
voltage drop.
but I
or,
agree
sorry,
with John
security.
Ryan. Most likely security issue.
Yep.
Appreciate the call.
Yeah, I hope that helped them.
All right.
All right, let's go up to Billy.
Hello, Billy. Welcome
Hey,
to
man,
the
set me
C&C
up on the
Auto
stage.
Show. And I see that you may have an answer to our tech tip quiz. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to do two things. First, we're going to put you on stage, and then we will read the tech tip quiz again for everyone because we've only read that one time. So
And it might give them another
Okay.
clue, maybe. Or
a little
something
clue?
Like that.
We
Yeah.
might. We'll play that by ear.
No,
okay.
I'm saying it might give them a clue.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It might give them another clue. Absolutely.
All right, read it.
Okay. You're going to wait and then put them on stage. Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
X.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, Billy. You know
Billy,
the quiz.
Billy, hold on one second. Okay, I'm going to do this by memory because I can't find my paper. Okay, now
don't have to read.
here's what the deal is. Cindy always wanted to move to Dallas, so she moved to Dallas from Waco, and she left her longtime childhood sweetheart, Austin, and went up there. She didn't call him, didn't do anything, just stayed up there because she had all these things she wanted to do. And then all of a sudden one day she got some flowers, and it was a card attached, and it said, "This is Austin, and I still love you." And she grabbed a bag, threw the flowers and the card,
took the note
in the
with her
car,
and everything.
took the note, everything, and took off to go back to Waco. And it ended up costing her $6,500 or $7,000, one of those
Some
two.
big numbers, yeah.
And in that area. Okay, and what is the answer
Well, we got
to
to
our
put them on
tip
stage,
quiz?
don't we?
Oh, yeah, we do. We're ready. Okay, and what is the answer to our tech tip quiz?
If you put flowers in a car in Texas with the windows up, it's so hot that those flowers are going to draw moisture in there, and that moisture is going to settle in there, and it's going to cause mold and mildew in that car, and it's going to cost you a fortune to get it cleaned out.
Well, that's not bad.
That would be an excellent second place.
Yeah, that would be. But, Billy, that is not the answer.
Well, I won last week, and I ain't come and got my stuff yet, so I'm still a winner.
You are. And that is huge already. So we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Billy. Appreciate the call. The number to call is 706-863-5800. And
we got about 2 minutes before break. Let's squeeze David in.
let's do it. Hello, David. Welcome to the C&C Auto Show.
Good morning. I've got an intermittent problem with an electric window switch on a 2001 Toyota Tacoma.
Does it only happen at the bank in the drive-through?
Maybe when it's raining.
That's when you miss it the most.
When my wife has problems with it.
Yep.
It'll work most of the time, and then sometimes it'll come up at half an inch or an inch or 2 inches and stop.
Right.
It's like a capacitor. It has to build up, and then all of a sudden it'll start working perfectly. I just want to know what.
Does this 01 Tacoma have the automatic feature as far as the window rolling down?
The driver's door does.
Yeah,
it'll
but
go on.
and that's the drawer with the problem?
It always the problem.
Well, the reason I say that because auto feature actually has what they call pinch limit switches. And the reason, of course, is that obviously if your fingers were in there, it would stop, and it would, of course, stop the power to it and do just very similar to what you're talking about. Does the window seem to operate okay as far as in the track? Is it pretty smooth and everything? When it does work, I guess you would say?
I've never had a problem with this vehicle.
Okay.
Been with years.
There definitely is a possibility of the window motor, getting weak. When it draws a lot of amps, it can just simply shut off.
That's when it resets.
When it resets because it thinks that there's a finger in there or something like that. One thing that I would suggest to you is just swing by Napa and get some silicone spray. It's a rubber spray that actually, of course, can spray the felt stripping and the tracks of the window and very well could help and maybe even cure that problem. So.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron.
It might make the window motor last a little bit longer. Okay. We'll be right back after these messages.
Thought twice before I hauled a Barbie doll bed for the girl next door. She tried to pay me with a kiss, and I began to understand there's something women like.
And we are back with you. Spark plugs are made better than ever, but just like any other part on the car, eventually they need to be replaced. And I recommend two things. The first is to make sure that you change the plugs before or right at the recommended factory time that it says to do it, the mileage.
Yeah, mileage interval.
And in doing that, it'll save a lot of strain on the other parts in the ignition system and computer system. And also to use NGK spark plugs. They're designed to perform and last. That's NGK spark plugs. And one more quick tip, have your car checked before the summer or during the summer to make sure everything's in good shape.
Yeah.
Heat plays a toll on a lot of stuff, cooling system, batteries, just all sorts of things. Have all those things checked out so you won't have to have it checked out on the side of the road.
Yeah, that's never
real
a
good
deal.
idea. Where we're going?
Paul's up next.
Hello, Paul, and welcome to the C&C Auto Show. What can we help you with?
Hey, not much, guys. I have an update from a call that I did about a month and a half ago.
Yes.
Where my tires were going through at 2,700 miles.
Mm-hmm. On a Pontiac G6.
Yeah, we love ideas.
Yeah,
we love updates.
That's right.
Is that scary
well,
that we remember
I got
that,
my
though?
car. I got my car in for the alignment, and they put it up on the stilt, and everything was rotted out. My shocks, my struts, my tie rod, everything.
Mm.
So it went from a $100 problem to a $1,200 problem, and now everything seems to be working just fine.
Oh, man, that's
Oh.
great. Yeah, that's still a lot cheaper than buying tires every 2,700 miles.
And really,
Well,
if you
that's
did
true.
like shocks and things like that, all the things that you described, 1,200 does not sound that bad.
Yeah, it sounds
really.
like a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, and then apparently and my alignment was off as well. So it was because they gave me that pre-report.
Right.
Yes.
So that whole, and then once they did all that, they said they would have to do it again anyway.
Right.
So
yeah. Yeah, when all those suspension
so-
components, of course, get wear and tear on them, it can change a lot of the angles.
Yeah.
For instance, if the struts are sagging, in a lot of cases, it can change the camber. If the inner tie rods or outer tie rods have play in them, it'll change the total toe angle. So, yeah, things like that can really kind of compound and cause some serious tire wear.
Oh yeah, I've already noticed that my tire wear is way down. So
Very
great.
nice.
hopefully,
Probably drive better
hopefully
and
that
safer.
fixes my
So that's a
problem.
win-win.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Okay.
All right, Paul, thanks for the update.
Paul, we really appreciate
Hey,
that.
no problem. Thank you.
And the number to call, 706-863-5800. That's 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time. Where are we heading?
Well, if you want to, Joseph's next. You want to go to the phones?
Absolutely. Let's go to the phones.
I didn't think you'd say no.
Let's do it.
All right, well, Joseph's up.
Yeah,
Justin.
yeah. I got cut off, so I run over and turned the radio on
Uh-huh.
instead of trying to redial. I wanted to ask you, they got to scan that computer,
Uh-huh.
and
For
then what's the
security
remedy?
codes?
Reprogramming it, or?
No, it just depends on if there's a trouble code in there. It could have a transmitter trouble code. Let a technician, of course, go down a trouble tree for that particular code and hopefully fix that issue for you. It could be a receiver code, a transmitter code. It could be so many different things, and that's why
Right.
it's so important to find specifically what code's in there. That way they can.
That starter relay, that wouldn't mess up like that intermittently, would it?
I mean, there's a possibility. It's just more common for a security problem to actually limit the starter function.
Right. Yeah, because there's three relays. That's the same. The starter relay, and then the low cooling fan speed and the high speed.
Now, you could swap it, but of course be very, very careful that the vehicle doesn't overheat if it was a relay problem.
Yeah, I'd get a new relay before I'd done that.
Yeah.
Just to avoid creating another problem you don't already have.
That's one of the least expensive things that you could do. I mean, if you wanted to try a relay, but again, it's I wouldn't build my hopes up on it a
Right.
whole lot.
Right,
But I mean,
the old relays
it's
on
not
the
a terrible
firewall
thing to
where you
replace
can go
anyway.
With a screwdriver shaft and start a car. If they had problems with them.
Right.
That's just a plug-in,
Exactly.
a little rectangular thing there. So.
Okay. Well,
But yeah, what's the cost on a good scan like that?
as far as the scan tool equipment, how much does it cost, or to
No,
have it taken
to get it done by somebody that's already got the right stuff to do it. A lot
most
of this
shops-
stuff on the market
Right. Most shops.
probably is not gonna get where you need to go if you need to really get into some, deeper.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people do. You can buy a machine for like $12,000, or you
Yeah,
can rent
right.
a machine and a technician for about $125.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
yeah, just cutting up with that. But yeah, that's roughly about what it runs. Is $125 to do a complete check over, and that's more than just a scan. That's running a diagnostic test on that particular issue.
Yeah, that's got to be my next step, because if it's really pouring the rain or something, you're going to have to sit in the car until you can get out there and take a battery terminal off. And I hadn't had the chance to try it a second time to see if that'll start the car where you can get on back home without getting a tow,
Yeah, exactly. That's in the long run, it'll end up costing you a tow or something like that. So better to
Right.
go ahead and have it checked out.
That sounds like my next option. Then I might be up there one day this week or next week or
Absolutely.
coming up.
You
All right,
just
well,
say
thanks
the
a
word,
lot.
Joseph.
Y'all have a good one.
Thanks.
Thank you. You too. Number to call, 706-863-5800. That's 805 to 10 Eastern. Where are we going?
Does that say Barrett or Barnett?
That
I can't see
says
it from here.
Barnett.
We're going to somebody with a Mercury Mariner.
Yes, sir. What can we help you with?
Yes, sir. My wife has a 2008 Mariner, and she took it to the shop, and it said that it was misfiring on 3. So we replaced the coil pack. When that was replaced, it started doing the same thing. So we took it back, and the man suggested to use sea foam and to clean out the injectors. Well, that worked. And so that tank of fuel ran out. We refilled the tank, and now it's doing it again. And I have no clue of which way to go with now.
Is the check engine light actually flashing?
No, not most of the time, no. It come on. Then when we put the sea foam in there, it quit.
Right.
And then when we changed the coil pack, it went away.
Okay, so the problem has been somewhat resolved. It's not a dead misfire like it's always constantly misfiring, correct?
Yes, sir. And then when she goes between 35 and maybe 55 is like when it really wants to act up. If she's on the highway doing 70, it runs perfectly.
It sounds like a random question, but do you know what piece of equipment they diagnosed that with?
No, sir. I know nothing about
that. I've seen quite a few things. So there's a graph that, of course, a technician goes off of to find out what cylinder is misfiring. And some of the aftermarket tools, like a snap-on tool, and some of the Autel equipment will actually, unfortunately, tell you the wrong cylinder. So the reason I asked if it was flashing is because it would set a code for a specific cylinder, but yours is not. So a parameter that a technician would go to is in the data stream. It's called Mode 6 data, and it actually gives the data stream of all 6 cylinders on that particular vehicle in the percentage that it's misfired. And basically you use the information from the graph and the information from the Mode 6 data to confirm which cylinder it is. Just speculating, I'm just worried that they replaced the wrong coil on the wrong cylinder.
And sometimes what we do, if it shows one cylinder, we may switch it with another cylinder just to make sure we have the right one.
If it's not under the intake.
Yeah, if it's not under the intake manifold, that's true.
Okay. I knew I should have brought it to y'all. Okay.
Well,
I
again,
appreciate
that's just what we've seen a handful of times, especially on those Mariners and the Escapes. Some of the aftermarket scan tools just unfortunately gives not necessarily false data, just incorrect data.
I understand. Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to set up something with y'all because, I've listened to y'all show every morning when I go to the store, and, I know y'all are trustworthy, and it's just hard to find that. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for the call and the nice words. Okay, John Ryan, time clock's on the E. We need to pull over.
We'll have another hour starting soon, so Tony and Cliff can give
very
us a call
quick.
there.
Yeah, if they would hold, that would be fantastic because we really need an answer to our tech tip quiz also. We'll be back on the road in no time. I'm Aaron Clements, co-host John Ryan Mooney, show producer Dominic Frito, Sandy Klein, and our technical engineer Zach Llewellyn. We'd all like to say thank you to all of you that tuned in, logged in, and especially those that called in to ride with us on the C&C Auto Show. And hello, all of you wonderful car lovers out there, and welcome to the C&C Auto Show. And I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And we are here to give you some good information on ways to make your car, truck, or SUV safer, to make it more dependable, to make it last longer, and to share some tips, all kind of good things. We are ready to help. I want to say thank you to all you that tuned in or logged in, and a great big welcome goes out to those listeners at WLDS 1180 AM in Springfield, Illinois, and to those listening in on WSLW AM in Bluefield, West Virginia. We appreciate you jumping on board and riding with us in the C&C Auto Show. We're here to take those phone calls. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time. That's 706-863-5800. And you can watch the show live at ccautoshow.com. And this show is brought to you in part by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems and NGK Spark Plugs, along with a lot of other fantastic businesses. And you give us a call. We'll be going straight to the calls, but the other thing that we'll be talking about during the show, we're giving tips on how heat affects your car. That and a lot more things. We got a tech tip quiz laid on the counter. So where we going?
Well, we're going to have to read the tech tip quiz also. But first we're going to Cliff.
Okay. Hey, Cliff, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Thank you, gents. I've called in before. I have a GMC Sonoma It's 1998. It's just past 390.
Woo.
And I have experienced two things. One is if I'm coasting down a hill, I can feel it surging kind of off and on. And then when I pull up to a stoplight,
when you said coast, it made me think manual transmission.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And occasionally, and usually it's after the truck has heated up in hot weather.
Mm-hmm.
When I pull up to a stop, and it will, and then try to accelerate, it's like it's not getting any gas, and it'll bog down. But if I flip the ignition quickly off and back on again, it goes as usual. It's fine.
Has the fuel pump been replaced on that vehicle?
Yes.
It has 3 times.
3 times?
You said 300,000.
Yeah, normally they get replaced after about 100,000, and that was the last part of my question.
Yeah.
In the last, say, 150,000
well, he
miles.
said he had 300 on it, so I assumed 3 already.
Yeah.
Yes. I believe it was replaced about maybe 50,000 miles ago.
Okay.
Okay, good. You know, I thought I had it kind of pinned out when you were talking about the idling issue as far as when you coast. So that vehicle, of course, obviously being electronically controlled fuel injection, knows when the clutch pedal is pushed in. Doesn't necessarily know what gear it's in, but it kind of bases it off of engine speed. So say you're rolling 50 miles an hour. Of course, the car's computer knows you're 50 miles an hour, and it sees clutch pedal go in and then no load. Of course, it would show load like at idle. It, of course, is trying to maintain base idle. And when the throttle bodies get real carboned up, from different, obviously, just normal combustion gases build carbon around the throttle plate, the idle will hunt because it doesn't really know if you're wanting to idle. It doesn't know if you're about to accelerate. So it kind of finds a happy medium in between. But then the issue with a technician kind of calls that like a dead spot in the throttle, like a non-responsive throttle. That vehicle doesn't have a mass airflow sensor. It's a calculated load. So I think along the lines of like a map sensor could be bad intermittently, or fuel pressure, like Aaron said, because it's almost as if the injectors don't have enough fuel pressure. With it being 50,000 miles, you would assume that fuel pump's still good, but there would be some tests to do, because even a lazy O2 sensor could do the same thing if it wasn't reading and wasn't switching the fuel trims fast enough. A lazy O2 sensor is just like a weak battery. It just doesn't switch.
That's a good thought, O2 sensor being lazy.
And then the only, that, you said, what year was it, 98?
Yes, sir.
And is this, being a manual transmission makes you think 4-cylinder, but is it a V6 4-cylinder?
Yes.
It is 4-cylinder?
Mm-hmm.
So a stuck EGR valve could do the same thing to where it would be very intermittent like that. Cliff, I think, normally, obviously, we try and tell everybody the simple things, fix this, but nothing cheap comes to mind. What I'd recommend is definitely diagnostics on this one, because you could put an EGR valve on it, you could put another fuel pump on it, a map sensor, and the whole 9 yards, and it be a TP sensor that's reading 1 volt the whole time, that kind of thing. So, so a technician with a scan tool that could monitor the data, and of course, obviously, it's ideal to have somebody drive it for you and you watch the data. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes you have to do both. And that way they can actually, there's even most of the scan tools have a record function. And even if there could be a trouble code in the system that, of course, would send them in a direction. So I think diagnostics would probably be a better option for you on this one.
But Cliff, I did want to mention 2 quick things. One, I've noticed that the cars that I've seen with some of the most miles on them have been manual transmissions for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, I see automatics with a huge number of miles, but the ones with the most.
And rear drum brakes last probably tenfold on a manual transmission
when
vehicle.
Somebody knows how to drive it correctly and brake a little bit with their transmission.
Decelerating using the gears.
Well, not only that, but because you're using your emergency brake every time you get out of it, it rotates the adjusters and keeps them adjusted. Yeah.
And Cliff, one other thing, do you have any advice? There's a lot of people out there that have cars that would like to make them to where they would last longer. You've got 380,000 miles on this GMC Sonoma. Now, what's the secret? What have you done that has made a difference?
not really a secret. It's just regular maintenance. And there are some things, I think I called in before regarding automatic transmission fluid replacement. My manual says that I don't need to, but there are times that I believe that you need to exceed the maintenance schedule.
For sure.
For instance, there are some they tell you can go 8,000 miles between oil changes. I'm not really comfortable with that, but I believe regular maintenance, being very careful to keep up with it, and also I keep a logbook on everything I do on these cars. So from day one, I know what's been done.
Wow.
And when.
So I think that he kind of answered the question you
answered
asked.
it better than I ever could have imagined. Everything he said are the things that I believe in. Don't just go by your manual. Have your own setup, do the maintenance, and keep records.
Just like we were talking about the carbon on the throttle body. There's 10 different manufacturers that have a sticker on there. This do not clean this throttle body, but every one of them needs cleaned. And
you can either clean it or replace it. For
you pick.
$800.
You know.
Okay,
so you're right, for sure.
Hey,
Don't
Cliff, we appreciate you sharing that information with us. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. Aaron,
Cliff, sorry about that. That was an accident. I didn't do it. John Ryan
I admit I actually did.
Hey, John Ryan, why don't we go to Tony real quick and try to do this extra?
All right, go ahead and read the tech tip.
Now,
first.
here's what I'm going to do. The tech tip quiz. Cindy had always dreamed of living in Dallas. She left her childhood love with a note and moved from her hometown of Waco, Texas. A year later, she received flowers with a note that said, "This is Austin, and I still love you." She packed a bag, put flowers and the note in her 05 Jeep Wrangler, took off. The short trip ended up costing her over $7,000. Now, here's what we'll do. We have someone that may have the answer.
Yeah, 40 seconds.
Yeah, but what we're going to do is we're going to let him tell us the answer as soon as we return.
That's right.
Does that sound good?
Because I think that'll increase his odds.
It will. Yeah, give him time to think about it. Tony, if you'll hold, and we're going to put you on stage as soon as we return with the C&C Auto Show.
Now his guitar's Cadillac, hillbilly music, lonely streets I call home.
All right, we are back with you on the C&C Auto Show, and we promised that the time we get back that we would put Tony on stage and we would let him answer the tech tip quiz. I will go ahead and read it one more time because some people may have tuned in during the break. Cindy had always dreamed of living in Dallas. She left her childhood love with a note and moved from her hometown in Waco, Texas. A year later, she received flowers with a note that said, "This is Austin, and I still love you." She packed the bag, put the flowers and the note in her 05 Jeep Wrangler, took off. The short trip ended up costing her over $7,000. Wow.
I think she took the note too, right?
She did. She took the note with her also.
Right.
Okay.
All
Are
right,
we
so
ready?
We're doing just that. Tony's on with us.
Hey, Tony, welcome to the show. And is it
Good
okay
morning.
if John Ryan puts you on stage?
Absolutely.
Okay, you be still. Tony, all eyes are on you. What is the answer to our quiz?
Okay. You guys are a little sneaky, but here's what I'm thinking. She got a note, a bill from Mayflower Moving that her Austin Healy, which was her love, had finally been delivered, and she was going to pick it up, and it cost her that much money.
That is a way better answer, Aaron.
Yeah, that is. That's better than our answer, Tony. But
that's way better. If I could change the rules, Tony, I would. I like that one better.
Yeah, that is good.
Give him something.
Hey, Tony,
that's at least a coffee mug.
Yeah, I think that's a coffee mug. Tony, I tell you what.
And your autograph.
Yeah, you will get a coffee mug.
And your autograph.
I don't.
It's only fair.
I don't think that'd be worth it. Hey, Tony, thank you.
You bet.
Hey, we appreciate it. Okay, number to call, 706-863-5800. That is Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. Who will we be talking to?
Next step's going to be Ron.
Hey, Ron, welcome to the show, and what can we help with?
Hey, good morning, Aaron. I have a 2011 Lincoln that has 100,000 miles on it. It felt to me like it was missing just a little bit on the power lug going up a hill. And I changed the plugs, changed the coils, did the 100,000-mile tune-up. And previous to that, I was getting 20 plus miles per gallon on a trip. When the car was new, we would get 27, 28 miles per gallon new, according to the speedometer mile check digital program.
Yeah.
I'm just.
What did it drop down on you?
Yeah, and it dropped down. I only get 14 to 17 now.
Did you mention what kind of Lincoln this is?
And it don't seem to have any less power. And it just is there anything significant about those big cars that got that good gas mileage? Is the transmission not as good, or is something like that happening? Have you ever seen anything like that?
Ron, what Lincoln is this again?
Yes.
Yeah, what kind of Lincoln?
Lincoln
Town car. Okay, gotcha.
Oh, beautiful cars.
Yeah, excellent car, actually. So you replaced all 8 coils on this?
Yes.
Okay, and describe the misfire or the lack of power just a little bit more. What speed range?
When you're going up a hill, like going up one of the inclines on the
like a steady grade, but what
Calhoun
speed are you still? Are you still at like 40, 45?
Yeah, and going up there, you feel it just lugging just a little bit, or just maybe a slight miss, and it's nothing. You can give it more gas in it, or go into the step up passing gear, and just have all the power that you need. But when it's lugging, I guess that's one of the ways that they got good gas mileage on those big cars, is that they keep it in the overdrive transmission gear.
That is correct, and that lowers the RPMs. That
all right, you want to have a debate? You want to go first?
Okay, let's do it.
All right, you go first, then I'll come up second.
Well, it may not be correct. I would recommend checking to see if there's any computer reprogram procedures to be done on that vehicle, because sometimes you'll run into things to where the transmission may need to shift a little differently, or or something to do with the knock sensors may affect it, and reprogramming it may help. The only other thing, and I'm not sure how it would tie in, is things to do with the EGR system, spark knock, things like that. But
right.
I don't really have a great answer. What's yours?
You ready for me to fix it?
I'm ready. You lay it on me.
It's got a dirty mass airflow.
Oh, man, that's good. That's good.
Especially with him saying that it's going into overdrive a little bit sooner. Wow. It's lugging. It's lazy. It's a little, fuel economy's bad. Ron, I really think so. That does have a mass airflow sensor that monitors incoming air. So that, of course, it's really the best way for fuel trims to be adjusted, short of obviously the O2 sensors. But if it doesn't know exactly the amount of air, and you wouldn't believe even the very best air filters and how things like this get past it, I don't know. Little, not mosquitoes,
I've seen bugs
gnats,
in there. Yeah.
Bugs, moths, all kinds of stuff can actually get on that mass airflow sensor. And the reason it sticks to that sensor is it has a hot wire. It's a little wire that goes across that reads the incoming air and the volume of it. And because it's hot, I
used to know the temperature that little wire gets to.
Oh,
but
did
I can't think
you?
what it
couldn't
was.
even tell you that.
And then the computer has to apply a certain amount of voltage to get it up to keep it at that same temperature.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what it was. I believe it varies from sensor to sensor.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I lean towards, especially with you, because you're not describing a misfire. On those town cars, when they misfire, they're right at 42 miles an hour. I mean, I can literally picture it in my mind. And we describe it as a fish bite. The power pulls back. So,
Ron, in short, a moth's toe stuck to your mass airflow sensor is actually what's causing your low fuel mileage.
But the best thing is, what would fix that? I'm going with a
to
BG.
get his toe off his mass airflow sensor. What else?
I'm going with a BG Carbon Clean.
That would do it too.
Ron, one of the things that would really benefit that vehicle is, of course, obviously cleaning the mass airflow sensor, but it's included in this procedure. A BG Carbon Clean goes in and actually chemically removes all the carbon. It's a calibrated injector that fogs a 2-part chemical in front of the throttle body, clean all the carbon out of the intake, valves, the whole 9 yards. And part of our procedure would be to clean the mass airflow sensor, reset all the fuel trims, and it should be running.
Yeah, the bad part is there's a moth running around out there without a toe. Okay.
He's not running around anywhere then.
No, that's true. Okay, it's time to take a real quick break. When we return, we will go to our tailgate talk, and then right after that, we're hoping that James will answer this tech tip quiz that we've been trying to get an answer to. That and more as soon as we return with the C&C Auto Show.
Ton short bed Ford, my uncle bought new in '64. Daddy got it right, cause the engine was smoking. Couple of burnt valves.
And we are back with you with the C&C Auto Show. Give us a call Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time at 706-863-5800. And we are fresh out of a Nerf gun fight that we just had in the studio here just a second ago. And so, and I believe I won that one.
No,
Dominic.
You're actually definitely dead, by the way.
Dominic might have a tailgate talk.
Maybe?
Yeah, you ready to put him on stage?
Just did.
Oh, you did? Okay. What is our tailgate talk today?
There is no tailgate talk because I'm dead and I got shot with a knife gun.
I got you.
No, actually, Ford has issued a new recall recently for the 2013 and 14 Ford Escape and the 2013 through 16 Ford Fusions related to the transmission. And it seems like we're getting a lot of transmission recalls nowadays. We had that big Chrysler one a while back with the gear shifters not showing in the correct position or something.
They're adding so many speeds to them. They're increasing the number of speeds. I mean, you have 6, 8, 10.
Yeah. Well, of course,
speeds
the electronics on them, too.
And, of course, that makes a lot of changes, so they have to work a lot of bugs out.
And this particular recall, which Ford owners should be getting notices for here in the near future, relates to the transmission may not necessarily hold position in park, like the parking.
That's not good.
And it does pose a rollaway risk, which is the same sort of issue that the Chrysler ones were having, but that was more of an issue with the control surface.
Yeah.
People not being able to
actually control it.
Tell which gear it was in.
Yeah. So if your driveway is sort of up high and you park this car
and you
start to get out, but you don't completely get out, then that can be a problem.
Yes.
Or you walk out and your car is not where you parked it. What's the solution?
Use the parking brake.
Exactly. That's what I heard that one.
Which really, most people don't do anyway, but really should, because it does save that parking pawl on the transmission.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay.
Which it definitely does, but I've yet to see one wear out.
All right. Now, we're going to have to grade your tailgate talk. And, John, I'm going to give that one a 8.5. How about you?
Sure. I liked it.
I think it was good. Thank you for the tailgate talk. Okay.
Your
Where
check's
are we
in the
going?
mail. Okay, so next up is James.
Okay. Hey, James, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. And what can we help you with?
I think I'd like to take a shot at your tech tip quiz.
Oh, we're going to need to do two things. We're going to need to read the tip real quick and then put you on stage. Is that okay?
It is fine.
All right, here we go. Cindy had always dreamed of living in Dallas. She left her childhood love a note and said that she was moving from her hometown in Waco, Texas, to Dallas. A year later, she received flowers with a note that said, "This is Austin, and I still love you." She packed a bag, put the flowers and a note in her 05 Jeep Wrangler, and took off. The short trip ended up costing her $7,000. Why?
Well,
We got to set them up first.
Yeah, we need to set you up on stage, James. Hold on. James, we are ready for you.
All right. This thing could go two ways. I'm going to presume, in this purpose of this answer, that Austin is a person, not a city. And since Austin wrote the note, I hope so. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. I think nature and romance took its course divorced. She went home, got married, and she had wedding-related expenses of that amount of money.
Oh, so the wedding, as a matter of fact, $7,000 would not be that much for a wedding, right?
Well,
that'd be
wedding-related
catering.
expenses.
Yeah, that would be the catering for the wedding.
And maybe a porta potty.
Yes.
So, but if it was the city, I had another answer.
Yeah, and that don't count the photographer and all the other stuff.
All right, what's your other answer then,
Okay,
James?
we're ready for the number 2. Number 1, go ahead and give him one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
Fair,
we're ready
fair.
for number 2.
Well, sometimes cities, political subdivisions, will have a sting operation in order to recoup fugitives or recover damages that are due the city. And in some cases, they will lure people with attractions such as awards or prizes or so forth. And when you get to your destination, you get a pair of bracelets, but they're the ones that go behind your back.
Oh.
So
That's
she had
true.
a fine she had to pay, and she got there, she had to pay court costs and such.
James, you put a lot of thought into this.
You think he can handle 2?
I don't know. Nobody's ever had 2. Oh, James. Oh, man. 2 of them in one day. Whew.
Listen, sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield.
Yeah. Well, people get therapy for that, but I believe you can deal with it.
We know what he looks
Good,
like.
thank you.
James, thank you for calling in. We really did enjoy the call. Okay, number to call, 706-863-5800. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. John Ryan, who will we be talking to now?
Next up's Ken.
That's perfect. Hey, Ken, welcome to the show, and what can we help you with?
Yeah, I got a 2014 Ford truck with EcoBoost V6 in it, and me being a YouTube mechanic,
Me too.
I was watching one night, and this guy says, supposedly a tech, he was talking about a missing problem in EcoBoost engines, and he said, come to find out with a stethoscope, well, not with a scope, they determined that it was carbon buildup around the valves. And Ford said, I can't remember if he said the head would need to be replaced or whatever because you can't clean them. And it was suggested that they would use induction cleaning to clean all that. And he said, this tech said that you can't do that on the EcoBoost engines because it'll burn up the turbocharger. That the temperatures get so high that a few miles down the road afterwards, your turbochargers go out. And I was concerned about that. I love my EcoBoost V6. I mean, I really love it.
Right.
And I just don't want that scenario. So I'm just wondering what you guys say about it.
Yeah, I mean that's of course all the manuals and all the recommended procedures is to not do any kind of carbon cleaning on really any turbocharged engine. BG Products makes a apparatus that goes in line with the turbocharger. Now it's for various vehicles, some of the Volkswagens and stuff like that. But on the EcoBoost, they really kind of steer against it, mainly because it's twin turbo. So the big thing is, again, kind of steering away from it. But there's another way to do it that's not necessarily as quick results. But, of course, you can put a fuel additive inside the tank to where it'll, of course, go in the injectors, obviously kind of the normal natural path, so that it cleans it that way. Now, the only thing with that is it's not going through the intake, so it's not going through the back of the valves or anything like that. But over time, of course, the idea is to, run that solution through the tank, and over time it will break down the carbon on the valves because, of course, it's in the combustion chamber. It's not the most ideal way to do it, but that's kind of what they're recommending because really any truck or any vehicle that's turbocharged, of course, they say that the perfect way to do it would be a valve job, just like in the 70s or I guess maybe 60s. But the other
70s.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's true. But the thing is, again, the misfire. Are you having a misfire with your truck or?
No,
Okay.
I was concerned about it.
You're looking for the
my,
future, yeah.
My daughter and her husband were looking for a vehicle, and I said, well, whatever you get. They were looking for a truck.
Right.
And I said, whatever you get, I said, make sure you get that EcoBoost V6.
Mhm.
And I said, you'll get good gas mileage, high power, and I said, it'll be good. I said, I got one. I love it. And so then I got this guilt thing after I saw that. I thought, what am I leading them down to? So,
right.
I just want to make sure. What I have
the only
begun,
other thing that I was going to mention about those, so when those trucks first came out, they had a 90,000 mile tune-up interval. Well, Ford issued some bulletins saying that, hey, these aren't going to last 90,000 miles, and they changed it to 60. So a lot of people have a misfire before the tune-up interval, in the manual, and the tune-up interval has actually been changed to 60. So a lot of people with the issues as far as, of course, obviously misfiring, think it's something else because my spark plugs aren't due. Well, they are due at 60,000 miles. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind, because they do, when one plug starts not necessarily fouling out, but of course, causing issues, it's literally like dominoes. So and it starts to run, of course, obviously the coils can be stressed out at that point because the gap's higher and all that stuff. So definitely stick with a 60,000 mile interval on those.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those hadn't been that bad about building up to carbon.
Yeah.
But any engine will, and my guess is eventually BG will come up with other cleaners. For instance, they did that on direct fuel injection that cleans those.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, Ken, it's really not a bad idea. Aaron always tells the story of getting his grandmother's car and running up the interstate and really get down on it so that it blow the carbon out. And that's still true. I mean, any car still has carbon, and that does from time to time help them. Of course, don't drive like that every day, but it does. The next time you merge onto an interstate, of course, use its power and kind of
goose
clean
it
out
a little bit.
Yep. Turn 16 again.
Yeah, well, we don't, I can imagine that problem would be somebody with inner city driving all the time, and we don't do that. So I guess.
Yeah, especially on a vehicle that's turbocharged. You could do one, the more air in, the more air out, the more efficient it is. So hope that helped the question.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
Round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around, round, round, I get around, I get around, round, round, I get around.
And we are back with you with the C&C Auto Show. Give us a call, 805-10 Eastern, 706-863-5800. And we were talking about spark plugs before. Spark plugs are an item that do need to be replaced at one point in time. It's good preventative maintenance. Of course, a plug that we love to use, the NGK spark plugs. They're fantastic plugs, last a long, long time. And that's NGK. They fit well. They last long.
Right.
Okay, where are we going?
Next up's going to be Bobby.
Hey, Bobby, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. And what can we help you with?
Good morning. I was going to try to do the tech tip quiz.
Oh, we need to put you on stage. And then we will read the quiz real quick. Cindy had always dreamed of living in Dallas. She left her childhood love with a note and moved from her hometown to Waco, Texas. Didn't call him back. A year later, she received flowers with a note that said, "This is Austin, and I still love you." She packed a bag, put flowers and a note in her 05 Jeep Wrangler, and took off. The short trip ended up costing her over $7,000. Why did it cost her that?
I think because changing locations, maybe her job, she got paid less to go back to where she came from.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Really, I don't know for sure if they ended up living in Waco or living in Dallas after this was done. So,
yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she moved, or one of the two moved. Yeah. Hey, John Ryan, you think we're to throw a little something out?
Like what, about the note or something like that?
Yeah, maybe the note. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Oh,
okay. Where are we going?
All right, let's try Billy.
Hey, Billy, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with? Billy, you might be listening to the radio. Flip that down, and we are ready for you. I see that you may have an answer to our tech tip quiz, which we need desperately because we're running out of time. What is it?
Tell me about the note.
Oh, it was a note that she carried with her.
You were going to say something about a note?
Oh, she took the flowers and the note and a bag and put them all in the Jeep Wrangler and took off. But we need to put you on stage before you give this thing a shot. Okay, Billy, you are on stage. You've had all the hints. You've had everything that you need. Now, what is the answer to our tech tip quiz?
I think she took off without getting the vehicle serviced and wound up running it hot. Probably had to have the head replaced.
All right, now wait a minute. Why? How could she run it hot enough to
not even know about it?
Yeah, not even know about it, Billy. Why?
Well, your serpentine belt could break, and it'll run hot on you, and you don't want to even know it until it's too late.
Well, but doesn't it have a
or
coolant
your
gauge?
fluid will leak out. And once that gauge starts going up, you ain't paying attention. She put the flowers in the note in front of the gauge.
In front of the gauge? No. Oh, Billy. Oh, wow. The crowd is going completely bonkers. because what would she just put the note in front of the gauge?
It happens.
And she didn't know it ran hot.
And Billy, you know what's kind of amazing? I don't mention this to people because sometimes it might hurt their feelings. So this will give me my opportunity to tell them without having to be kind of like a face-to-face.
All right,
kind of
spit
like
it out, Aaron.
in more of a meeting atmosphere. We get cars in here all the time with somebody's picture in front of the temperature gauge. It just sets me on fire when I see that.
What's weird is it's usually Aaron's picture.
Yeah.
Little shrine.
And they got a beard painted on it and all. I don't know what to think about it.
Yeah.
But, Billy, I see that all the time. People have a picture, a lottery ticket, a little note from somebody in front of their oil gauge or temperature gauge. And what's going to happen?
Yep.
Now, some cars have an alarm that go with it, but some don't.
Right.
Some do have an alarm. It's a knocking in the engine.
Yeah.
I sure hope that boyfriend had plenty of money to fix them heads on
He
it.
did. Austin was actually he worked in the oil
His name
industry.
was Blake Shelton, I think.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, that was
the guy.
Yeah, and actually it turned out just fine. I mean, everything went well. Because tell you the truth, you know what she did when that happened? She just let the knocking smoke going everywhere. She just pulled over, jumped out, and took a Uber ride on to Waco. And she took her flowers and her note with her, but she just left the Jeep right there. And
I hope.
Yeah,
I hope when she got down there,
that almost sounds like a music video.
Yeah, that would make a good song, wouldn't it?
Yeah, when she got to Austin, I hope she got to go to Austin city limits and see a really good band play.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind she did. It's a sure thing. But, Billy, you are the winner of our Tech Tip Quiz. And I want to say congratulations. We really needed that because we were starting to close in on the end of the show, and we didn't want to close without getting an answer. So we would have been here for hours later today waiting for an answer. So now
I'm glad I could help you out.
Yeah, so the other shows will be able to play today, so we won't have to stay trying to get an answer. And thank you very much. If you'll stay on the line, we'll get all that information and also a code. We will be giving you a code word to say when you receive all your important prizes.
Okay.
I'm cutting up about that, Billy.
I know that.
Oh, he knows.
I know that.
Talk to you soon. All right, man, that is great that we got an answer. Okay, John Ryan, let's fill in a few blanks here on things to do with heat and cars.
Okay.
What's one of the things that you see this time of year major all the time?
Just lack of maintenance on things like radiator hoses. People letting them go too far, and then, of course, they rupture.
Mm-hmm.
That's one for sure. And then just normal coolant leaks. Coolant that wasn't serviced.
That's a great one.
Coolant wasn't serviced, of course,
Hoses.
becomes acidic. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then belts, too. Belts.
Yep. What's
any
another
rubber component? Probably battery.
Oh, that's what I was thinking, too.
Yeah.
Battery. We do a lot of heat plays its toll on batteries.
We do.
So if you've got a battery and that joker's 3 or 4 years old, either have it checked, or you may even, if it's 4 or 5, you may even consider just saying, "Hey, I'm ready."
Yeah, I would say the 3rd year is the marginal year. 4th year is borrowed time. 5th year is you're done.
Yeah, and there's no need in waiting until it goes completely out. And then the other thing I want to mention is all the other fluids. Transmission fluid, it gets hot, it loses its viscosity. Lubricate as well, that causes more wear causes more metal particles. I think you see where I'm going with this.
I do.
Yeah, it's all
into
down.
our shop.
Yeah, it's bad. It's not pretty. And since we've been doing transmission flushes on a real regular basis on a lot of cars, our major transmission work has went way down.
Way down. Big
we
time.
just don't do near as much. And so you got your power steering fluid that's in the same boat.
Yep.
Wiper blades.
Wiper blades will destroy a windshield if you don't keep
and
on them.
Heat gets that rubber even hotter.
Yeah, more pliable. Sure does.
So we want to use good quality, high quality wiper blades.
Yeah.
And that way the heat don't affect them as much. And what happens is when that rubber gets hard, not only does it cause that squeaking noise that'll put everybody in a bad mood by the time you get to the end of your trip, but also it will scratch your windshield.
Yeah, big time.
And then at night when somebody else's lights are shining on your windshield, you see those little
scratches,
squeaky places. All right, this is major. Don't want to forget to wax your vehicle.
Yeah.
All right, people, they talk about how the sun affects people.
Right.
It affects your skin, you get melanoma, all the other bad
stuff.
things that can happen. Think about what it does to your car, that a lot of those are just out there all day long.
Yeah.
Give it some suntan lotion.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, put some on there.
One coat of wax would do it.
Yeah, and it'll prevent the problems. And this is one of my main ones I want to mention at the end, and that is that one of the most important parts of the car, well, the most important part of the whole vehicle are the people in it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's hot. Keep them hydrated. You may have to pull over more often for everybody to go to the restroom, but keep them hydrated. And that means water, and lots of fluid. Okay, we're out of time, and we're time clock's on E. I'm Aaron Clements, co-host John Ryan Mooney, show producers Dominic Frito, Sandy Klein, technical engineer Zach Llewellyn. We'd all like to say thank you to all of you that tuned in, logged in, and especially all those wonderful people that called in to ride with us on the C&C Auto Show.